Welcome, everyone. It's Ian O'Brien here, and I'm sitting down to have a chat with Steve Mallett today. Now, he's had a super interesting guitar journey, a much shorter than I in my head think. Like we just had a chat before I hit record, and in my head I was thinking Steve's gonna say he's been playing 3 or 4 years, and I said, "Oh, Steve, how long have we been doing this?" And he said, "Yeah, 2 years." So Steve did a year of working together with me in the process, which is my main teaching. We also did a year working together in We Guitar, where we do retreats and things like that. But basically, Steve, we've been working together for 2 years. I think Steve's had a really good and interesting journey. He's really passionate about music, and I think people should hear this. So, thanks for doing this, Steve. Thanks for sitting down today to have a chat.
No, you're really welcome.
Nice. So let's start off then. 2 years ago, where were you with your guitar playing before we met, before we had a chat?
Okay, so I've always wanted to play the guitar, for as long as I can remember. And I didn't do any of that as a kid or a teenager. I came out of a family that thought we weren't artistic and weren't musical and all that kind of story. So I didn't do anything about it. And then in 1995, I bought a guitar, um, and I had some lessons and learnt a few open chords, but never how to change seamlessly between them. I certainly didn't learn any songs. And as so often happens in these stories, life got in the way, and the guitar spent the next 25, 28 years in the cupboard. Every now and again I'd pull it out and think I should do something about it and basically discover how hard learning to play the guitar is. And I'd put it back in the cupboard. And then just before you and I made contact, I my grandson, who was 7 at the time, decided he wanted an electric guitar for Christmas, completely out of the blue. And his mum bought him a three-quarter size electric guitar. And at that point I thought, okay, if there ever was a time to learn to play the guitar, it's now, so that I can do something with him. And so I got the guitar out and put strings on it and started looking at, the internet and all the stuff that's now available that wasn't 30 years ago. It wasn't really making any progress, I could remember the few chords, but I wasn't changing them smoothly or anything like that. And then I stumbled across you. And started the process. I am somebody who is very poor at following instructions and a sequence of events. And so because I knew some open chords, G and A and D, couldn't do C, couldn't do F, um, I kind of shied away from the Django chords. So I sort of followed a kind of hybrid process that you kind of guided me through. Um, and I still actually don't really know a lot of the Django chords. I mean, I have to look at them. I can play them, but I think, oh, it's that one. Okay. Um, so the process has been it's been a really interesting and fulfilling journey. Learning to play a few songs right at the beginning, really helped.
Do you remember some of the early songs you got to grips with? What that was like?
Um, Stand By Me was an obvious one. Um, I ought to be able to reel these off, but I can't. But that was a good one. I should have a look at my list probably, but it was just that thing of being able to play something from beginning to end that made a big difference to me. It's like, okay, I can play a song,
Hmm.
and if I can play a song, I can get to play it better rather than learning bits of stuff. And that was really important.
That's
And then I picked out a song that I knew that wasn't in your, or a song that I really liked that wasn't in your library,
mhm.
which was Tom Waits' Chocolate Jesus, and basically taught myself to play there. And that was important because it's like, okay, so now I've got two avenues here. I've got your incredible song library, which I can dig into, but I can also pick out stuff and have a go at that I know and love.
Superb. Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be you don't want to have one like dependent on the source of where you get,
Yeah,
songs from. You want to be able to play the guitar, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like be versatile with it. That's great.
But having those recorded lessons of yours in that library, I just think is absolutely extraordinary. Because, I mean, apart from anything else, is the sheer breadth of stuff that's in there.
Mm,
So, I can always go and find a song that I really relate to and go through, learning slowly, replaying, practicing. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's invaluable. It's worth the price of admission. It's-
great. And I mean, you've learned a number of songs over the years, and you've got me into things that I've never listened to as well. I never heard. Like, there's a lot of depth to your how you relate to music, the sort of soundtrack of your life and things, the stuff you're aware of. Like, it's super broad. So I'm really grateful for that as well because I've learned songs to play songs through you and that I never would have heard.
yeah, the whole relationship has felt like a very enriching two-way process. I mean, I can't stress that enough, really. Ian.
Great. Yeah, I think so too. I think we've managed to go to some really interesting places that have been necessary through learning the guitar. Um, in terms of because we're digging quite deep now into musical skills. Like we had the conversation recently about how do you put a song on and know what the guitar player is strumming? Like, how do you know the rhythms? Are there, how many bars are in it? How do you lock into that groove and stuff? And we're beyond, what we were talking about 2 years ago when we're looking at Chocolate Jesus on a chord sheet, and following along. You've got the ear. It's not your eyes. It's your ears, and it's how it feels, which is that's music, isn't it? It's really a sound. What would you say have been some of the sort of most significant or meaningful experiences with your guitar playing over the last couple of years?
Well, I can remember that one that really sticks in my memory at the beginning where I'd started to be able to play your chord sequences and progressions that I've been practicing. And there was a moment where I'd just been strumming and was completely lost in it. And there's this sort of realization of, oh, I'm playing music, you know. And it was a very emotional thing, you know. There were tears coming down my face. In fact, even talking about it now, it's quite emotive.
Wow.
Um, that was a really, really important moment. It's like, oh, I can do this. This is something's coming out of me that has wanted to be expressed for, my entire life. So that's really important.
Mm.
Um, and then there was a moment where, I mean, one of the disadvantages of learning to play the guitar at this time of life is that I'm not surrounded by people that are doing the same thing like you are when you're a teenager.
Hmm.
So it's been quite a insular process. And again, that's why I find the process and the chords and all of that stuff really beneficial because it fulfills a social piece of the puzzle and an emotional piece of the puzzle. Um, and so, having not played with anybody, there was a moment where on the first Wii Guitar Workshop, where Simon was just sat in one corner strumming something, and I went over and sat with him and started picking out stuff. And then we reversed the process, and I was playing the chords and he was picking stuff. And again, that was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. You know, the discovery that I could play music with somebody, unscripted, you know,
Mm.
just jamming. That was really important.
Yeah, superb. I remember a couple of the workshops we did when we focused specifically on improvising.
Yeah.
It seemed like very quickly, because it takes some different ways in for different people to get there. But it seemed like very quickly you clicked into like a way of being in the present and just exploring what you were doing. You weren't trying to recreate a pattern that you'd played before or something like that. It was just following where it led. Does that sound, is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's really, really important that somehow, you know, the process that you've led me through has allowed me to do that. Um, I've probably said this before, you know, I spent a lifetime listening to guitar players.
Mm.
I've got a huge library of stuff stored away in here, you know, that I can hear. And being able to be put in a position or led into a place where I can explore that has been really great, you know.
Excellent. No, your playing is great. It's very expressive. It's very musical. It's not just you're not just like, okay, I can play that song. There's rhythm, nuance, and musicality. I remember one time where you were just strumming a rhythm, just strumming some chords. Just I don't know if you knew anyone was even listening, and I think it was Joe Leach. He said, I want to do that. And he pointed you out specifically. He's like, that's really musical. When I strum, it's not like that. So we, took the time to break down some of the ways we become more musical beyond just strumming. And it was great. So it was a really good example.
Yeah, I remember that actually. Now you mention it, yes.
Yeah, great. Really good.
Yeah, I I never wanted to be just collect songs. The songs were vehicles for. I mean, obviously, I want to play songs, but you know, there's more to it than that.
Hmm. What did you, if you didn't just want to play songs, what did you want to do?
I guess the driving thing is being able to improvise. You know, just pick up the guitar and start playing, and have some of the rhythms that I can hear, and then some of the stuff I hear come out. You know, it's
Hmm. Play the music that's in your head.
yeah, and it tends to be. I don't appear or I don't seem to remember or be melody driven. I don't remember melodies, or it's much more for me rhythmic and then just picking stuff out that I like, that if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Mm.
And every now and again in that I'll hear something melodic and I can repeat that a bit. And
Yeah, it's really expressive. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and the other thing obviously I need to talk about is the singing. As I've said to you many times, it never occurred to me when I set off on this journey that I would sing. You know, it's just not part of my world. You know, having been told at an early age I couldn't sing and having believed that all my life. So being encouraged to sort of open my mouth and make sounds has been really quite an interesting experience. And, you know, as I've said before, I'll never be a great singer, but be able to sing, you know, half a dozen songs that fit my very limited range
Hmm.
is fun. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, great. Great. So if we were to rewind the clock, I don't know, 30 years, you didn't think that you could be musical. You didn't think you'd be singing. You didn't think you'd be playing the guitar.
No, not at all.
Great. Well, you're doing really well.
I mean, I always wanted to, but I didn't. It seemed like a an impossible task.
Cool. I think the singing is really important because there's a lot going on there. Sometimes guitar playing feels overwhelming because you're trying to do multiple things at the same time, like that tapping your head, rubbing your stomach kind of thing, and then you're bringing in the another layer on top, and you've got that coordination to play and sing at the same time. You're playful with the songs that you play. You can swap the rhythms and stuff and express them. You can improvise a bit more. If you could, just off the top of your head, name some songs that you've been playing over the last couple of years, what sort of thing comes up?
Um, well, Sloop John B, I can play well. That'll be the day I can play well. I like those. Stand by Me, we talked about. Um, so the works in progress. I mean, the real one at the moment is Tequila Sunrise, which is I can now play tolerably well. I have to practice it a few times, but then I can do that. But there is no way I can get the lyrics to fit because the rhythm's going pretty quick, but the singing is very laid back.
Yeah.
And there's that is too wide a gap for me at the moment. It's just I can do one or the other.
We haven't
Um,
looked at that one. I think it would be good to look at the coordination for that because there's that little flick in the rhythm, that sort of Spanishy aspect to
yeah,
the
because
round out the words.
the feel of the song is actually laid back and quite melancholic,
Yeah,
but that flick is
quick.
quick. Yeah.
Well, let's.
And I was thinking about it, I could probably play that song differently without the flick and make the lyrics fit.
Yeah, it would be an everyman rhythm if you pulled that,
Yeah,
which you can, as
what
you've proven, play
I
and
can
sing
do, yeah.
that rhythm.
But that sort of seems like cheating at this point in time, having put the amount of work into learning the flick and the rhythm and all the rest of it. Be nice to be able to get the lyrics to fit.
We can develop that. But the Eagles are not one guy and a guitar. What you're trying to do,
That's the
they
problem,
don't do what you're trying to do. Is
yeah.
actually a little bit harder.
Yeah, and as we've discussed, all my favorite music is of that ilk.
Yeah, it's not all. Yeah, you're right. When you have a band and there's multiple people, the person playing the guitar isn't necessarily singing. That singer has way more freedom
Yeah,
with the ideas they're playing with than someone who plays the guitar and sings. And
yeah.
those songs are, yeah, they can be more doable. But it's a higher level of coordination, which we're developing, which is great. Yeah, cool. Um, so you haven't been interested in playing lots of songs, but you
No.
you want a sort of repertoire, a smaller repertoire of songs that you can sort of um, do more with, or like,
Yeah, and I think, my definition of knowing a song to me is I know the chords, I can play it without having to look at the chord sheet, and I know the lyrics. Fundamentally, I know the whole thing.
yeah,
That's kind of my definition of knowing a song. And I've probably got, I don't know, 10 or a dozen of those, or close to that number.
that's great. Yeah, you're really. It's what I think of as sort of being out of the mechanics. Like um, you're not tied to the sheet. You don't have to look at the sheet. You don't have to look at your hands and fingers. You're not sort of in your head trying to um, hold it all in your mind. You're just playing it, playing through it. It's that kind of thing
Yeah.
for
The other
sure.
thing that I found quite interesting of late is, on the calls, people have referred to particular songs. that they learn at the beginning. And as an example, somebody was talking about King of the Road the other day, and I thought, oh, I've never tried that. I'll go and look at it. And I mean, the obvious thing is that I can learn stuff much quicker. Um, and then I looked at it and thought, oh, there's this capo that you've got to move. Now that doesn't seem right. What I want to be able to do is barre.
Yeah.
So I start, having got the basic rhythm and I knew most of the lyrics anyway. Now I'm starting to play with the bar chords to find out, okay, how can I dispense with the capo and play? So again, it's kind of, although this is a beginning song, there's more depth to it because I can come back to it and explore it.
Yeah.
Simple chords, um, and then the theory stuff pops up. It's like, okay, so that isn't a G, is it? Because that's now, is that a B or a B flat or something? It's like, so I'm playing the shape, but so that leads me into another little area of the musical journey.
Yeah. Discovery. Yeah, that's fantastic. Looking at what's happening in a song. You're right. Stuff like King of the Road, we do it as a beginner song, so we don't do the key change with using bar chords, of course, but
Yeah.
we're figuring out how that would work, which is great. That's it's musicality. You've covered a terrific amount of ground over the last couple of years. What does your practice typically look like? Like, how many times are you picking the guitar up in a week? I know it changes, but
Oh, I mean, typically I pick it up every day, and I'll play something. And it's quite interesting how, I mean, you say I've covered a lot of ground, and it's quite interesting how, to me, how that's happened. I've sort of picked something up and then gone off in a direction, bit of a rabbit hole for a while, and then come back and go, oh no, I need to go back to those beginning songs and the process, going and looking at the videos again, and thinking, oh, I don't know sus chords. I should have learnt those somewhere in Orange Pit, and go back and do some of that. Um, and then I went through a period where I did almost nothing but improvise along with backing tracks, and that was great. Um, and then, more recently there was that period where I got quite obsessive actually about musical theory for a bit, and how these chords are built and, the circle of fifths, all that kind of stuff. And then you sort of nudge me back into the center again. So, um, a bit of a long answer to what does my typical practice look like. Um, Usually it's about practicing some particular element. So it might be, I don't know, pentatonic scale in different positions. So I'll do some of that. I'll do some chord progression changes. At the moment I'm trying to do some bar chords. Um, and then I play. And sometimes that might all be in one session, and other times it'll be two sessions or more. I'll do a bit of actual practice and finger strengthening, that kind of stuff. Um, but as you know, I'm really bad at, you know, having a routine that I stick to, and that's just not my makeup.
That's fine.
The interesting thing in all of this is that
Mm.
the structure that you've put together has allowed me to go off on my little off-piece trips and come back to something, and that's what's led to my what you refer to as this broader
Yeah,
picture.
that's really important. We don't want a structure that is so rigid that you don't want to do it, because it's like this. It's like if there was a perfect method of learning guitar that was it could be so perfect, that it's not
Yeah.
people aren't enthusiastic to undertake it. It's got to have enough space for sort of emergence, for somebody to come in there for their own passions within music to plug in. And I think your learning has really been a series of deep dives. And then you come back and connect them up, like you're saying, come back to the center, but it's coming back to connect those things to the core of what you know and what you do, not go off and learn something that doesn't connect, not sort of, like building two halves of a bridge. It doesn't actually connect to what you're doing on the guitar. We want to
Yeah.
shore it up and integrate it and then carry on. I remember with the structure, I think that's really great, because I remember you once said something to me like, I spent a lot of my life being very organized and orderly, and I don't know how to do that anymore.
And that's not quite what I said. What I actually said was that
Yeah, correct me.
I'd spent my life trying to be a really organized person, and part of, business life was about that. And, later on I recognized actually I am really not that person. And I've allowed my um, untogetherness and untidiness and chaoticness to not exactly have free reign, but I've been much less critical of it. And sort of related to that has been, I it's relatively recently actually that I've come to the point where I'm all right with the speed at which I'm learning. Because there was definitely, for probably the best part of these last 2 years, me thinking I ought to be further ahead than I am. I certainly want to be further ahead than I am. And more recently, that I've got really much more relaxed about it. It's like, okay, this is where I am, and I'm going to enjoy being where I am. And, possibly at some point I'll get to a position where I think this is as far as I'm going with this. I'm comfortable here. I can play and I can do stuff, and maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But I mean, I think the important thing is that I'm much more content with the process and where I'm at and my skill level and my enjoyment level.
Great. It's weird. It's kind of counterintuitive, but that focusing on that is the way to get the progress. The thinking of the future and where you're trying to get and where you should be is not, it doesn't get you there. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
taking the step that you're taking, mean purposefully gets you there. Well, it's great. I think what you're doing is great. And when you said that, I might get to the point where I'm doing everything I want to, and I don't want to move forward. And I was thinking, a lot of the things that happen in guitar playing, you've literally got on the table. Like we want to refine some things. We want to be like snappier with grabbing the bars and knowing what the chords and things like that. But they're there. You've got completely got your foot in the door with them, and it's just building that bigger picture. Like if we push out, like the distance you've traveled in a couple of years, if we added another year, we added another 2 years, you're going to be really plain sailing as a really confident and competent guitar player. People can't, honestly, when you play, people can't tell that you've only been playing for 2 years. It's hard to judge. That's a good place to be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's been a quite remarkable experience.
excellent. Well, I've enjoyed it. I continue to enjoy it. I'm really curious to see where we go. Like we touched on it today, but we're talking about developing the ability to hear rhythms and spending some time doing that, which is great, and being able to play them. Do you have, as a sort of parting, do you have any advice that you would give to somebody who was where you were a couple of years ago? They want to play guitar. They don't think they're really going to be able to, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm afraid of saying, the inevitable cliche of, if you think you can do this, you can. You know, I mean, in popular culture, you can now be anything that you want to be, which is clearly bollocks. Um, you know, I could never have been a brain surgeon. But I think if you actually have a desire and you want to play, then you can get there, even starting at the age of 68. You can do that. Um, Follow the program. And I'm the worst person to tell people to do that because I largely haven't. Um, but yeah, what's the key thing? Pick up the guitar every day and play.
Yeah.
Put it
That
where you put the guitar where you can see it. Um, you know, have it in the way all the time. Have more than one. You know.
where's the other one?
Well, here in my office stroke den, I've got, you know, acoustic guitar and a couple of electric guitars, but I've got another two guitars in the living room.
Great. Mm.
One of which is a nylon acoustic, and the other is my Yamaha acoustic. Um, yeah, and they all get played.
Great. Yeah, it's part of your life.
Yeah,
So they're out. They're not in the cupboard.
they're not in the cupboard.
Yeah, really good.
Well, there are some others in the cupboard, but I probably shouldn't admit to that in public.
Nice. It's nice that you said that. I think it's a great parting note. Pick it up every day because the very first conversation we had, I think I asked you how committed you felt to learning to play guitar. And you said something to me like, I've played every day since Christmas. It's got to mean something. And we were mid-January, we were the end of January, something like that, maybe even early February. And
Yeah,
we're
I think it's
still where we
February.
are.
Yeah,
February, that's still where we are. Pick it up every day.
yeah, I do. I mean, there are days that I miss, but um, I don't think there have been many occasions where I've not played for two consecutive days.
Great.
Even if I'm just going to pick it up for 5 minutes before I go to bed. I mean, to begin with, to be honest with you, there was this sort of lurking fear that if I don't do this, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to forget it all.
Mhm.
Um, I've now discovered that actually it's all right if I don't. There have been times when I've not played for a week and I've picked it up and gone, oh, I can still do this. That's good. You know, big sigh of relief.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Is there something specific you play when you pick up the guitar each time?
No,
Could be anything.
could be anything.
Nice. Great. Um, well, I think that's great advice. And thanks for not just having this conversation, but being willing to being open to trying different things and different approaches and what you do, digging into what's going on and why and things. And
No, it's been an interesting and remarkable journey. And for anybody watching this who's thinking about joining the process, I would, heartily recommend it. It's um, not like anything else I've come across.
cool. Well, thank you, Steve. It's been great. Yeah, absolutely.
Pleasure.
Familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, fighting early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I want to drown my sorrow, no tomorrow. it's a very, very mad world. Mad world. Children waiting for the day they feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Don't you feel the way that every child should sit and listen, sit and listen. Went to school and I was very nervous. No one knew me, no one knew me. Now when teacher tell me what's my lesson, look right through me, look right through me. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. Dreams on which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. It's hard to tell you, I find it hard to tell you. People run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad